Highway in Merrimack, just south of the Bedford border. And at 991 Candia Road, that's where I took my Dodge Caravan. It needed some work. And we've completed phase 1.
It's good that you can break it up in stages, right?
Yes, it's good that we can break it up into stages. We've completed phase 1 of the work, and we are happy about that. And, I have to tell you, first of all, when I went there, I was reminded that you guys have a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty on the work that you do.
Yes, you won't find that anywhere else in the industry.
No, and
parts and labor. So.
And I told what's his name there, Paul. I said, Paul, have John remind me of that. I can't believe I forget that, because that's actually pretty impressive.
Yeah, we figure it went a long time the first time, and if you use the quality parts, there's no reason you can't stand behind it.
And given what I just had done to the rear end of my car and what I need to have done to the front end of my car, it's probably a good idea that I feel much better knowing that I can come back and it's all under warranty.
Yep, you don't have to worry about it.
That's right. And the other thing is they were. I'm not just saying this because you're a sponsor, but they really did take time to go through what needed to be done, let me know what it was going to cost, tell me how I could prioritize the project, because ultimately it's going to cost me $1,600, $1,700 to get the van up to snuff, which is fine.
Right.
It's work that needs to be done, especially when you're talking about brakes and struts and, rusted things that control whether or not your car flips over and all the stabilizer bar. Is that what it's called? And then when I picked up the car, they said, all right, this is what we saw. This is what we did. This was this was that. I'm like, okay, I get it. And so it worked out. It was pretty much a different experience than I've had at virtually any garage I've been to.
Well, that's good. That's kind of what we try to create, is not that mystery when you walk into a shop, and we try to be upfront and truthful, and we show everybody what they need to see, and that way they understand it.
And this is how clean this place is, by the way. I had to go and check something while my car was in the bay.
Yeah,
I had to go check something because I didn't remember if I left my briefcase there or I left it at home. And when I was walking out, the glass, now this is the glass between the reception area and the shop, was so clean I didn't think it was there when I opened the door coming back in. I'm like, I had to double take, like, wow, that's so clean, I didn't think it was there. And Paul did just what you did. He just laughed. You must have a little Windex gremlin or something.
Well, Paul's a little crazy when it comes to cleaning, so that's good. It's good.
It's not a bad thing. Fresh citrony smell. All right. Citrus smell. There you go. If you like lemons. I probably shouldn't say that with cars, huh?
No, I don't want lemons.
No, you don't want
You turn lemonade, maybe.
Yeah, there you go. So, John Manellis, I want to thank you. No, really. You guys,
for coming in, give us a try.
And I have to say, because I just bought this car back in August, and allegedly they went right through it, and the garage this and that, and
the used car certification.
Yeah. Well, remember, do you do that? If I were going to buy a car off a lot or something like that, used car, could I bring it to you? And do you have some kind of program for $50 or $100? Your guys go right through it, or
we have a full pre-purchase inspection, is what it's called. We actually charge $90 for it. But we do include the state inspection if you decide to buy it, so you don't have to pay for the inspection afterwards. So we go right through it for safety, just like a state inspection, but we go beyond that and look at the fluids, look for body damage, frame damage.
Right.
And we actually plug into the computer to make sure there isn't anybody hiding check engine lights and ABS codes and all kinds of stuff.
So. Right, because, I was told that the brakes cleared inspection, and I guess technically they did. But when I had the rear brakes removed, they also found leaking brake cylinders and really old brake fluid that probably caused the brake cylinders to start leaking, et cetera, et cetera. I get that whole explanation. So,
a lot of people will not take the brakes all apart to see that stuff. So they'll peek in through the little windows that you have to inspect the brakes on inspection. But you actually have to pull the wheels and the drums to actually get a true picture of what's going on.
Do you do that during your pre-purchase inspection?
On a pre-purchase, absolutely. Huh. And on a state inspection, we're required to do one wheel in the back and one wheel in the front. So.
All right. And so anyway, they took care of that for me. David's got a comment before we get into the morning's topic.
Yes, good morning, John. I just wanted to say I love my new tires. And, along the lines with what Rich said, when I brought my car in for tires, I've been going to another mechanic for years and years and years, and your guys found an oil leak. I think it was the oil filter. There was a leak somewhere in there that he missed, and I know he missed it because I was having issues with having to fill my oil pretty regularly. So, I guess I would second the appreciation for your team being so thorough.
We definitely are thorough. People make comments about it, good and bad. I mean, some people don't want to know that they have cancer, and that's fine. But it's my professional obligation to the driving public to make sure that they know what's going on with their car. It's your decision what you want to do with it, but it's your safety and it's your peace of mind. So some people like it, some people don't, but that's the way life is.
Well, I particularly appreciated them telling me how I could prioritize the project so I could do it.
Not everything is you have to buy this today, but So.
All right. So, John, we're talking about, getting the car ready for a road trip.
Well, I thought, it's Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up, and most people do a lot of traveling during the holidays, usually with their car. And whether they're driving to the airport to fly away or if they're driving cross country or down to grandma's down the street, you want to get there, and you want to get there without any incidents and headaches. So, so we do a lot this week, typically with people coming in to get an inspection on their vehicle before they hit the road. It's because we've also do it the other way when they come back from the road trip.
At the back of a tow truck.
Yeah. So it's a good idea to go in and have a professional who has a system that checks things out that normally I don't want to throw anybody typically under the bus, but if you go to a quick lube type of a facility, you'll have the vehicle doesn't even get off the wheels. So, and they go under there and they drain the oil, and usually they're not trained into what they should be looking for potential problems on the road. So
what are some of the things that someone who's going to take a 2-3 how many ever hour trip away from home should be looking at?
Well, I mean, obviously the tires, like you talked about a couple of weeks ago, those are the first things you want to make sure they're ready to go. They're properly inflated. You also want to look at your important things under the hood, like the serpentine belt, which we can have a whole conversation about. But that is what drives everything under your alternator, your water pump on most cars, your power steering. If that breaks, you are stranded on the road. And you want somebody qualified to look at it. And the newer belts these days, you can't even... the olden days used to look and say, oh, it's cracked, so it's about to break. The type of rubber they use now doesn't crack. It actually wears out like a tire. So it has depths in the belt grooves. And those grooves, without a special tool to measure the depth, you won't know if the belt's worn or not. And so what happens when the belt wears is it starts to slip on the pulleys, and the devices that it's driving start to erratically turn, and then eventually they break, but they're a lot better than they used to be, so they don't break as often. So anyway, so the belts, and also you want to have that battery checked and make sure the charging system's up to snuff, and check a lot of people don't check the transmission fluid too often, and the brake fluid. All the fluids should be topped off at least, and see if there's leaking. And it's obviously nice in the winter time to have a cooling system service performed if it hasn't been done in the past couple of years. So those are the kinds of things we like to set people out on the road with.
Well, now, what are types of is there sort of a typical type of breakdown that people have if they're going on a longer than normal trip?
Yeah, the biggest thing, and I have a list of 10 underserved items that I brought with me, but one of the big things that puts you on the side of the road, and not all cars have it, but it's a timing belt. And the timing belt is, it keeps the engine basically in synchronization with itself. And that's one of those things, if it breaks, the car doesn't run anymore and you're stuck on the side of the road. And what happens, timing belts typically break in the hot summer and the cold winter when either the underhood temperatures are very cold or the underhood temperatures get very hot on long road trips, and the belt just
can't handle it.
It's been driving so long, and it's the extra heat just finishes it off, and usually happens on longer trips.
So timing belt going on you is a big one, huh?
That's a big one because on most cars they call it an interference fit engine, which is where the pistons and the exhaust and intake valves all operate in, let's say they take up the same space at different times. And the reason it's different times is because the timing belt keeps it at different times.
And so what happens when the timing belt breaks?
They kind of freewheel and they collide into each other, and usually the pistons win and the valves get bent, and so now you don't have any compression in your engine, so you can't start your engine. And what it does, probably $2,000 to $3,000, depending on a 4 or 6 cylinder, worth of damage to the engine. Whereas you change the timing belt, it can be as little as $350 to as much as $1,000, depending on the type of vehicle. So, and what you do to repair it. But it's a lot less money than and a lot less headaches to be preemptive, as always.
So what are a couple of the other 10 underserved things that people need to be aware of?
Well, we have power steering fluid. Nobody ever even thinks about power steering fluid, and I would tell you that it's a good idea to have that periodically changed out, because that fluid also protects some very expensive parts. And in New England especially, oil takes on moisture, and moisture is not good for shiny bearing parts. And power steering racks, for one thing, it'll eat away at the seals and cause a power steering rack to leak, which is what turns your car. And again, that's a $800 to $1,200 repair.
So check the power steering
for a $100 fluid flush. So it's an important one. It's a lot of times it's what causes your car to make noise when you turn the wheel, and all these little nuances. Wheel alignment is another big one in New England. We have so many potholes in the spring and the winter, and the cars pulling to the left or pulling to the right, and or it's vibrating as you're going down the road, and it's eating away at your very expensive set of tires. So, and it can be a problem on the road too. So
okay. Now, since a lot of people are going to be making long trips, a lot of times, especially eat too much turkey, get a little sleepy. What are some things, you have any tips or tricks to help keep people stay awake behind the wheel other than take a nap before you drive? Yeah,
it's funny. Sometimes I'm leery of these studies, but I just had a study come up last week that it was done by Aromatic, which makes the air fresheners for cars. Of course, it's Christmas time and it's stocking stuffer season, so it could be they're trying to sell them, but they do have a study that was performed by one of the colleges, and pine actually was the one scent that far and away. I mean, here's the two things that cause the most accidents on the road besides drunk driving is fatigue and road rage, or people that are very high-strung behind the wheel. So the two scents that would help with that is pine, far and away, what keeps you alert, and strawberries, believe it or not, is what keeps you calm. So those two smells in your car will keep you going safely.
So what are you supposed to do? Mix them there so that you can be calm and awake?
Maybe. If my wife gets a hold of the strawberry thing, she'll probably be putting that in my car, in my coffee or something. So I can calm down behind the wheel.
Oh, wow. So pine keeps you awake and strawberry keeps you calm.
That's what the study showed. So maybe we can find some real evidence, but I'll give it a shot. So,
all right. And if you are going to be taking a road trip anywhere, do you have like a sort of standard road trip service? Hey, John, I'm going to be driving to my sister's in Connecticut.
Yep. We have Inspect for Trip. It's a typical service that we perform, and it's we look at a few more things than we normally do on our courtesy inspection, and we actually take out wrenches and tools to actually take stuff apart to look more closely.
Is that something? Is that can I wait for that? Was it a half hour, 45 minutes?
It's a 45-minute ordeal usually, and if we don't find too many things wrong, your car be in and out. But you may want to prepare to take one of our courtesy loaner cars if we find something and you want to get it done before you go on your trip. But
all right, so Inspect for Trip at Auto Care Plus. Don't get caught on the roadside wishing you could get to the turkey or get away from it. one or the other. Get to Auto Care Plus instead at 991 Candia Road here in the Queen City, or at 784 Daniel Webster 738 Daniel Webster Highway in Merrimack, just south of the Bedford border. You'll be able to get your car inspected for the trip and know that it will be trouble-free, at least to drive. Can't promise what will happen when you're going to and from the family's house. John Manellis of Auto Care Plus, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you,
Auto
Rich.
Care Corner. Coming up next, the Cuisine Queen. Don't know what she's doing. She's sticking Christmas tree limbs under our noses in here. Doesn't look like I'm going to get to eat that. Traffic weather, pretend it's gin, she says. Oh, I got to party with this one. Traffic weather sports next.
Thank you, Rich. Maybe she's just trying to keep you from falling asleep behind the wheel.